It was a scene no one could have predicted. New York City, one of the busiest streets, filled with thousands of pedestrians rushing to their destinations. Among the chaos, one figure stood out, a man who had been the subject of countless headlines, both admired and reviled, depending on who you asked. But today, Donald Trump wasn't just another billionaire businessman or former president. He was standing still, eyes locked on a homeless man sitting by the curb. As passersby ignored him, Trump did something that shocked everyone around him. He stopped. And what happened next would not only stun the crowd, it would challenge everything you thought you knew about one of the most controversial figures in American history. Was it just a publicity stunt? Or was there something deeper at play? This moment would not just change a life, but it would surprise even the most cynical critics. Prepare to witness an act of kindness you never saw coming. The results? Unbelievable. The afternoon sun beat down on the bustling streets of New York City, the crowd moving in all directions, each person lost in their own world. And yet, amidst the thousands walking by, there was a moment of pause, an encounter that would change a life and leave those around it stunned. On the corner of Fifth Avenue, the unmistakable figure of Donald Trump, former president, and the center of endless media attention, walked briskly toward a high-profile event. But as his security detail kept a careful distance, something caught his eye. A homeless man sat on the sidewalk, his face weathered by time and the street, his clothes tattered, and his eyes vacant. The man had long since stopped asking for help, resigned to his fate, as people brushed past without sparing a glance. Trump stopped. The usual entourage of aides and bodyguards fell silent, wondering if he had simply stopped to adjust his tie or check his phone. But instead, Trump did something they had never seen before. He knelt down. The homeless man looked up, confused, as the former president locked eyes with him. "Are you all right?" Trump asked, his voice firm yet uncharacteristically soft. The homeless man, clearly taken aback by the question, muttered something inaudible. He had been ignored by everyone around him for so long that the attention felt like a strange gift, one he couldn't quite comprehend. But Trump didn't move away. He crouched beside him, lowering himself to the ground to meet the man at eye level, as if there was nothing else in the world that mattered at that moment. "I know how tough it can be," Trump continued, his tone unwavering. "I've been through hard times too. But you don't have to be out here. You've got potential. You can get out of this." The man blinked, his tired eyes narrowing in disbelief. Why would a man like Trump, someone with so much power, wealth, and influence, take a moment to talk to him, a homeless nobody? The man had seen countless politicians and celebrities walk past him without a second glance. But Trump was different. "What do you mean?" the homeless man asked, his voice full of skepticism. Trump paused for a moment before answering, choosing his words carefully, not as a businessman or a politician, but as someone trying to make a real difference. "I didn't get to where I am by giving up. I've had my share of setbacks. But I learned something along the way. It's never too late to turn things around. You've got the power to change your life. I'm not just talking about getting a handout. I'm talking about a real chance. A new beginning." The homeless man's expression shifted, from doubt to something else, a hope, maybe. Or just the sheer curiosity of someone who had been trapped in the depths of despair for so long that even a faint glimmer seemed impossible. Trump reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He handed it to the man with a quick but deliberate motion. "Take this. There's a rehab center on 72nd Street. I've got a friend there. He'll help you get back on your feet. This isn't charity. It's an opportunity. Don't waste it." The man's hands trembled slightly as he took the envelope, and for a moment, there was silence. The world seemed to stop moving. Trump's gaze didn't waver as he stood up and turned, already heading towards the event he was meant to attend. But then he stopped and looked back one last time. "You've got this," he said with a confident nod, before disappearing into the crowd. The homeless man remained on the sidewalk, his mind racing. Was this some kind of joke? Was this just another publicity stunt from the man who seemed to be in the media spotlight every day? Or had he, in that fleeting moment, truly been offered a lifeline? He slowly opened the envelope, his heart pounding in his chest. Inside was a check, an amount that, by any measure, was substantial. But it wasn't just the money that stunned him. It was the words written on a small piece of paper. "Call this number. They will take care of you. Start over." That night, after hours of contemplation and inner turmoil, the homeless man, whose name was Robert, made the call. The rehab center was more than just a building. It was a second chance. It was the first step toward a future he had thought was forever out of reach. The next morning, He showed up at the center, uncertain but determined to take the chance. Robert's recovery was not easy, but with each passing day, as he received medical care, counseling, and the support he needed, he began to change. He cleaned up, put on fresh clothes, and found a renewed sense of purpose. As weeks turned into months, he found the strength to rebuild not just his body but his mind and soul as well. He felt like a man reborn. But the real twist came when Robert learned that Trump's involvement was much deeper than he had realized. Trump had not just given him money or pointed him toward a rehab center. He had arranged for an entire program to help people like Robert, those who had fallen through the cracks of society. A network of rehab centers, job training programs, and financial assistance, all funded by Trump's personal resources, aimed at helping the homeless get back on their feet. And Robert was one of the first to benefit from it. The news of Robert's transformation spread like wildfire. Headlines changed overnight. The narrative of Donald Trump as a heartless businessman was turned on its head. The man who had once been vilified by so many was now being celebrated for something few had ever expected him to do, for showing empathy and offering a real opportunity to someone who needed it most. Days turned into weeks, and Robert's life began to transform in ways he never thought possible. His face, once gaunt and tired from years of hardship, now reflected a growing sense of hope. He found steady work at a local construction company, something he hadn't even dreamed of before. But what really shocked him was the quiet phone calls and messages he received from Trump's team. Every time he made progress, they were there, checking and offering support and encouragement. Robert couldn't quite understand why Trump, a man with so many other things to focus on, would invest so much in his journey. Then came the moment that would change everything. Robert had spent months rebuilding his life, and now, standing on his own 2 feet, he was invited to speak at a gala organized by Trump's foundation. The event was filled with high-profile individuals, business moguls, celebrities, politicians, but Robert felt a quiet sense of disbelief as he made his way to the stage. When he took the microphone, the room fell silent. The air was thick with anticipation. Robert began to speak, his voice shaky at first, but gaining strength with each passing word. He talked about his journey from the streets to recovery, about the night he met Trump and the chance he'd been given. But then, the room was struck by something unexpected. Robert revealed the truth behind Trump's actions. "What many of you don't know," Robert said, "is that this man," he pointed to Trump, sitting in the front row, the crowd now watching intently, "didn't just give me money. He didn't just give me a chance. He set up a network for people like me, homeless, lost, and forgotten. There are countless others, right now, who are receiving the same help I did." And that's not something anyone expected from Donald Trump. The room, once filled with whispers and skeptical glances, fell into stunned silence. For a moment, no one moved, as if they were trying to process what they had just heard. Robert's words hung in the air, reverberating in the hearts of those who had witnessed a side of Trump that had been hidden from the public eye. But what happened next was even more unexpected. Trump, without hesitation, stood up and joined Robert on stage. As the crowd looked on, Trump put a hand on Robert's shoulder, his face serious, but full of warmth. "This isn't about me," Trump said, his voice firm but genuine. "It's about people like Robert. People who deserve a second chance. We all deserve that." For a few moments, there was a shared understanding between the two men, an unspoken bond. Trump wasn't just a businessman or a celebrity in that moment. He was a man who had made a difference. And Robert, who had once been a forgotten face on the streets, was now someone who had a future. The crowd erupted into applause, but it wasn't just applause for Trump or Robert, it was applause for the transformation they had witnessed. In that moment, Robert's life had come full circle. He was no longer just a man who had been saved, he was an inspiration to everyone in the room, proving that no matter how far you've fallen, it's never too late to rise again. And as Robert stood there, on that stage, with Trump by his side, he knew that the story wasn't over. It was just the beginning. As the applause for Robert and Trump finally died down, the crowd remained in stunned silence, each person reflecting on the unexpected revelation that had just unfolded. It wasn't just a story about a man who had been given a second chance, it was a reminder that real change comes not from grand gestures, but from the quiet, often unseen acts of kindness and the belief in the potential of others. What many didn't realize that night was that Robert's transformation wasn't just about him, it was a testament to the power we all have to impact someone else's life. In a world where negativity often drowns out the good, where the media focuses on division, it's easy to forget that even the most unlikely individuals can spark change. And sometimes, all it takes is one person, one moment, to remind us that kindness and opportunity can break the chains of despair. For Robert, that night was the culmination of a journey he never thought he would take. But for the audience in that room and for anyone who had followed his story, it was a call to action. It was a wake-up call to recognize the power we each hold in our own lives to help those who need it most. And more importantly, to remember that no one is too far gone to deserve a second chance. In the days that followed, Robert continued his journey of recovery and reinvention, but something shifted in him. It wasn't just the chance he had been given, it was the responsibility he felt to pass it on. He became involved in the very programs that had helped him, speaking out to encourage others who found themselves in similar circumstances. And as he did, he realized that he wasn't just helping others find a way out of their struggles, he was living proof that change is possible. That anyone, no matter their past, can rise again if given the tools and support they need. This story, however unexpected, was a powerful reminder that we all have the capacity for good. Trump's unexpected gesture didn't just help one person, it created a ripple effect that inspired countless others to take action in their own communities. It showed that no matter how large or small, every act of kindness matters. Every opportunity offered is a potential turning point for someone in need. The key takeaway from this story is simple. If we want to see a better world, we have to start by looking at others with empathy, compassion, and the belief that they can change. It's too easy to dismiss people based on their past, their circumstances, or their mistakes. But if we are truly committed to creating a world of possibility, we must first recognize the power of second chances, of seeing the best in others even when they don't see it in themselves. So, let this story serve as a reminder. It's never too late to change someone's life. It's never too late to believe in someone's potential. And it's never too late to make a difference, no matter who you are. Whether you're a billionaire businessman, a homeless man, or just an ordinary person trying to do your part, we all have the power to make the world a better place, one act of kindness at a time. The next time you see someone in need, someone struggling, don't turn away. Don't assume they're beyond help. You never know. Your act of kindness might be the one thing that sparks a life-changing transformation. Because, as Robert's story shows, all it takes is a single moment of belief in another person to change everything. The results? Well, they might just surprise you too.